Good afternoon, guys. My name is Christian Ramos, and this is my major speech number 2. So throughout American history, Americans have used different types of energy resources in order to live their everyday lives. This can consist of using horsepower for plowing farms. This can be used for fire, for heat and cooking within the home, and people even use water and wind energy just to live their everyday lives. This is how your typical American would live back in the past. However, until 1859, when Colonel Edwin Drake would discover a new resource that would change the lives of Americans forever at the time. This resource would be known as crude oil. Crude oil would pave the way for technological advancements, and it would make new industrialization techniques that gave us engines, tractors, cars, and etc. Everyone's quality of life improved, and everything was great at the time. America would eventually adopt oil as the foundation for society, meaning that we always had to have it and we always needed it. However, these great positives would soon be outweighed by the negatives that would occur later on in the future years. For example, oil, oil pollution, oil spills, environmental effects, and etc. Today, I will begin explaining why America should lose its dependency on oil because of the fact that, one, the oil extraction process is already a very dangerous process that affects the Earth's geotechnical patterns and affects water supplies. Number two, because oil pollution is at an all-time high in air quality and it affects the cities around us and it's causing acceleration in global warming. Number three, because the fact that the oil industry market is very unsustainable and it's unstable, and it causes economical hits if it's whenever certain fluctuations happen. So to begin, I will start talking about how the excavation process is a very harmful process. So oil can be extracted in two different ways. It can be extracted using fracking or drilling. Fracking is the process whenever you use a high pressurized system in order to break down the rocks underneath the Earth's surface in order to let the oil start seeping up. And Melissa Dinchak's Fracking 101, this process is very harmful because fracking involves freezing fresh water in a chemical solution. This chemical solution can seep into the ground and seep into fresh water, aqueducts, and fillers that contaminate our fresh water. Fracking uses fresh water and it uses a chemical and it contaminates fresh water. So that means we're losing even more fresh water that we're already limited to. Another reason why fracking is also bad is because it can cause geotechnical shifts within the Earth's surface, meaning that you can have small mini earthquakes because of it. Drilling, on the other hand, is a very disastrous process when it's not done correct. For example, the Deepwater Horizon event that happened in the early 2010s was a way that drilling was proven to be a very harmful process because of how much oil was spilled in the Gulf of Mexico. Imagine this. Imagine 1 gallon of oil can contaminate 1 million gallons of water. Imagine how much oil imagine how much the million gallons of oil that were spilled at Deepwater Horizon contaminated the Gulf of Mexico water. The extraction of oil alone should be considered a reason why we shouldn't even consider being dependent on oil at the time. Moving on from extraction, I'll begin talking about why the oil pollution is a very bad process and how it's currently rising. So in major cities, we have industrial districts that can cause different types of air pollution and water pollution. These industrial districts and drilling sites can affect everyone who's living around them in city limits, and it can even affect up to about 12 million people depending on where you live. These effects can include cardiovascular disease and lung disease that occur in many cities, and a bunch of people have a higher risk at getting these diseases if they live closer to a drilling site. An article written by Earthworks describes that the Earth is currently gaining 8 million tons of methane gas from all these different types of oil drilling and all these different types of excavation sites. Meaning that, for example, you can have 2 billion cows on a farm farting for about one time every 10 minutes for a year, and that's how much gas that we produce in a single year just from methane. Also, it's been proven by scientists that in the next decade, the pollution caused by oil and carbon dioxide will increase 25%. The fact that oil has this much devastation to our air and water quality should be a reason why we should start losing even more dependence on it. So moving on from the air quality, I will now start talking about how bad the market industry is. So whenever we have a bunch of different workers who are working in the U.S., there's different types of oil rig jobs. There's the 12 week off. Whenever the market is at an all-time high, these workers are making a lot of money. They're making a lot of different types of benefits that they get from these companies. However, when the market's at low, many employees will be laid off, and many employers will just fire people just so they can save money. From 2014 to 2019, about 60,000 people were fired, rehired, and then fired again just in this span of time. Another thing is that whenever we have a gas shortage or whenever we have a huge gas price spike, the American way of life is affected because we have to go and start conserving our gas, and we have a bunch of different gas lines coming in and clogging up all the different types of gas stations and towns that occur. This is very detrimental because everyone needs gas and we have to have a car to go around. The fact that oil and the gas industry can influence the economy this much is a problem on its own, and we should start losing our dependence on oil for these reasons too. So now that I've talked about how bad the extraction process is, how bad the air quality is, and how bad the oil industry is, after the discovery of oil, after the discovery of oil was made, life was really good at the time. However, through life being this great, we have to realize the risk that oil has and how the benefits are being outweighed by the risk. This is why we need to start losing our dependence on oil because of extraction, because of how deadly the air quality is, and the fact that the industry is very unstable. Thank you.